Okay, the next section, moving right along, is the simple calculations we need to do when we encounter a multifamily investment. Multifamily investment. Remember, we're talking about apartments as a baseline. All right, there is, like any business, income and expenses. We're going to look first at the income sources in multifamily properties, and dominantly the income will be from rent. So there is rental income and there is other types of income. And you need to look at them and consider them because they also a true and bankable income, such as laundry income, as I mentioned, vending machines in general, and believe it or not, late fees income. If you're dealing with big enough apartment complex, the bank will take that into consideration, but they insist on that this particular income, which like late fees, has to be seasoned. The meaning of season, as used by the bank, is has to be there for a while. It has to be there for a couple of years or so they can depend on it as it is being uh, considered for making the loan and so forth. Okay, let's look at the expenses. I use this grid, which is basically uh, what the owner gives you if you're a real estate person. Uh, and most probably that will be prepared by the owner's accountant. So it's broken down in more line items than what we are interested in commercial real estate. However, what we are looking for basically is the presence of five key components. These five key components are maintenance, insurance, taxes, property taxes, utilities, and management. If any of these items is not present, that means something is wrong. And what we're talking about, the biggest item as we see is the property taxes. Look at this, in this case, from the website, is around the 12%. It is more than one third of it. So it depends on the state. In California, it's a 1% of the purchase price. If the owner gives you the old or the existing property taxes, you have to figure out a 1% of the price that you are trying to market the property at. So it's a 1% of $5 million if you're trying to sell property at a $5 million. That number makes a big difference from one state to another. In California, since 1978, they are using what was passed as law at the time called Proposition 13. In other states, they use 2.6, and other states, it might be as high as 3. So be careful when you see that number. Anyways, I have to remind you that if you're going to forget anything, do not forget that there's five main and important elements. These elements are maintenance, insurance, taxes, utilities, and management. And it adds up to approximately 30 to 35%. The abbreviation of it, try to remember it all the time, is MITEM. So MITEM stands for maintenance, insurance, taxes, utilities, and management. And it's around 35% for apartment buildings or multifamily. And it's a little bit less if you're dealing with 2 to 4 units, because as I mentioned before, it is subjected to less and more relaxed underwriting criteria, because it's a first step for people who are getting into investments. So anyways, in apartments, it's around 35%. And do not forget the word MITEM. Okay? Okay. All right. We're going to use the example from the website, and in order to reach that example, it's called comprehensive example, go to the website commercialreacademy.com, choose available courses, and then choose comprehensive example. All right, and I want to let you know that the layout used here is subjective. You know, each broker likes to lay out a one-sheet summary of the investment being offered. And I always use this layout myself, and maybe 70, 80% of other brokers use it in the following manner. Put a picture, you choose a nice picture for the property, and underneath that, you just write descriptive and property summary. How many parking spaces, what type of roof, the utilities are paid by who. So that's a descriptive summary. And underneath that, you get to the investment information. That's a summary of how much money is being asked for the property, how much per unit is being asked, what is the cap rate, which I'm going to go through later on, and some other summary numbers. And to the right-hand side, we go with a logical flow, which the gross potential rental income, and subtract the vacancy, then add any other income, such as laundry or vending machine, and that will get you to the operating income. From that, you subtract the 30 to 35%, depends on you dealing with more than 5 units or less, but it's a 35%. The bank uses that, generally speaking. And the difference is the very, very important number, like I mentioned, which is NOI, net operating income. From that, you can calculate what is the return on the investment. The return on the investment, you take the NOI and then subtract what belongs to the bank, meaning that you're going to have to subtract the mortgage payments. And in commercial real estate, we use the word debt service, the payments to the bank. When you subtract the debt service from the NOI, that will get you to the cash flow. That's your cash flow. Now, you want to figure out, is that cash flow is a good return on your investment? Okay, so that was a question what was your investment? In the example we're using from the website, the initial investment was the down payment, roughly. So when you divide the cash flow by the initial investment, that will give you the return on the investment. Okay, I just want to tell you in summary, I like to break down the rent per square foot by spreading in a spreadsheet, Excel spreadsheet, uh, what was the square footage, what is the square footage of the total apartments. So if each apartment was 800 square feet, there was 6 of them, and there's 8 of them was 700 square feet. The total square footage of the building was a 10,400 square feet. And the annual rental income was 235,800. It's very important to break it down this way. I will tell you in a minute why. For this example, when you divide the total annual rental income, only rental income, you divide that by the square footage, that will give you the rent per square foot. In this case, it's $22.67 per year. Why this number is very important? Because if you're buying a property where the rent per square foot annually is 25, 27, that means the property has an upside potential. Very, very important you break it down this way. So the selling or the agent who's offering the property, when they tell you that the property have an upside, there are numbers published about the rent per square foot for apartments in that market. So we're going to use numbers. Simply we'll substitute just the descriptive words by numbers, using also the website example. So the gross potential rental income was $235,800. Subtracted the 5% of that, came up to 11,790. That's for vacancy. And then added back an income from the laundry. That gave us the operating income, the real income that you can take it to the bank. It's $229,000 and change. And then we subtracted the operating expenses. That was a number between the 30 and 35. The reason for that was not 35 because it's 14 units. And in California, you're not required to incur the expenses of a resident manager until you get to the 16 units anyways. So we use the 74,000 for operating expenses. That gave us the very important number, which is the NOI. So the net operating income in that particular example was 154,680. Now we got to figure out the return on the investment. We had to take that NOI, separate what belongs to you from what belongs to the bank. The payments on the loan for that particular example on the website was $107,000 and change. When you subtract it from the NOI, that gives you a cash flow of 47,000 and change. So the return on the investment in this case was a $47,300. So divided by the initial investment. In that example was 511,000, and that came up to 9.26%. In Southern California in particular, this is a great cash on cash or return on investment. Roughly speaking, it's a good return.